Hello and welcome to part 2 of the 10 Gifts workshop. So for homework, we had the slideshow. And so we just want to take a moment and talk a little bit about what the purpose was in the slideshow, and then also how we can connect to that on a more emotional level. So the reason why I had to go through the slideshow and connect to what it made you feel, who made you feel that way, how old you were, is because we're helping reconnect to your 0 to 12-year-old years. And that's really important because if we're not connected to our 0 to 12-year-old years, then we're trying to help ourselves as an adult. And as I said in the first part of this workshop, trying to change your adult self is like changing a website. You can't change a website. But if we can go back to 0 to 12 years old and take care of that 0 to 12-year-old self, then we actually will be able to change how our adult sees the world, because that's your coding. That's how you see the world. And so as you looked at each of the slideshows, whether it be like the Christmas one, you might come up with some memories of actually feeling sad about Christmas not being what you wanted it to be, or fighting, or things that were hard for you. And that's okay. That's part of reliving our childhood. But what we're really looking for is opportunities to have received the 10 gifts, to have received through experiences with people each of the 10 gifts, or a variety of the 10 gifts. One of the discouraging things about this process is that when we do that inventory like we did at the end of the last class, we recognize what we didn't get. And what I want to encourage you is that God knew when you were in your mother's womb what you were going to need and how your parents were going to be able to give that to you or not be able to give that to you. And so throughout your whole entire life, He's been sending people into your life that have been giving you the experience of these 10 gifts. People that have seen you and heard you and accepted you, that have given you the feeling of feeling like you're enough, that you're valuable. And so what we want to do is recognize that even though it may feel like your parents couldn't give that to you, and maybe even in your 0 to 12-year-old self, you didn't receive it. If you look through your whole entire life, you're going to find people like that were able to give you those gifts. So as we did the homework of the slideshow, we were connecting with those feelings so we could better identify the men and women in our life that were able to give that to us. So the page 6, receiving your gift, that's what we're going to focus on right now. And so what we want to do is on the top of the page, we want to put the gift. If you did the inventory, it'd be the gift that you least received. So for example, if 1 through 10, 1 would be seen, and you would consider seen the gift that you received the least 0 to 12 years old. And maybe at the bottom of it would be protected, because you felt very protected by your parents. So 1 to 10, 1 being the most. So let's say you put seen as the gift that you need to receive. So now we're looking to find people throughout your whole entire life, like I said, that were able to give you the gift of being seen. So you're going to look for relatives. You're going to look for teachers. You're going to look for neighbors. You're going to look for babysitters. You're going to look for people that you carpooled with. You're going to look for friends' parents. You're going to look for coaches and Sunday school teachers and coworkers and bosses and even peers right now, your present day. Because these are real people that you had real experiences with. And so I want you to go ahead and write down 5 women and 5 men that were able to give you the gift of being seen. Being seen feels like something. It's not just they saw me, but they saw who I am. They saw me past what I did or didn't do. They believed in me. They were with me. That's the feeling of being seen. And so you're writing down people in your life that you've experienced that with. So once you've written down women and men, then we're going to walk through a process of being able to connect with times in our life that we've experienced it. And the last page before your notes are feeling words. And it's talking about, what does it feel like when the gift's given to you? So we don't want to just one-dimensional or two-dimensional receive it. We don't want to have a more multi-dimensional way of receiving the gift. So you're looking at adjectives that describe feeling it. So if I was seen, that could feel warm or safe or playful or strong or understood or peaceful or adored or important, and so on. So we're actually connecting adjectives to how it made us feel. That's really important. And so as you go through that, we're going to do some examples in the next part of people walking through receiving moms and dads being able to give you the gift that you most desperately need, or the gift that you didn't get from your parents. Again, from our last episode, not because your parents were villains, but they didn't have that gift to give. And one of the things I didn't say last week about the inventory, when you're going through the inventory, if your mom or dad or both were able to give you one of the gifts, I want you to take a pause and say, thank you, Mom and Dad, for giving me the gift of protection, for giving me the gift of value, for giving me the gift of being heard. Because that is one way that we can powerfully and authentically acknowledge what our parents were able to give us. It's very common when our parents couldn't give us what we needed. So let's say they couldn't give you 8 gifts, but they did give you 2. It's very common to disregard all the gifts. But for example, if your parents were able to provide for you, 0 to 12 years old, you're not going to have a fear of finances as an adult. So even if they couldn't give you all the other things, if they could have given you the gift of provision without fear and with the knowing that you'd always have enough, you will carry that through the rest of your lifetime. And that is a gift. And so don't dismiss the gifts that you were able to receive, even if your parents were able to give you all the gifts. That's honoring of your parents, and also an acknowledgement, honoring of what you did receive. And then through the rest of the inventory, we can acknowledge what you didn't receive so that we can bring people to stand in on the behalf of your parents and give you those gifts. So the next part is we're going to have some people walking through receiving those gifts. The process of recognizing 0 to 12 years old when you didn't feel seen, and then applying moms and dads that saw you, and not just doing it from an analytical or logical way, but actually feeling from real people and real memories, reapplying that to your younger self. Because you know what it felt like. You know what their eyes looked like when they saw you. You know what their body language told you. You know what their presence communicated to you. And now you're giving that to your 0 to 12-year-old self. You're reapplying it to that file in your brain that didn't receive it when you were younger. And when that file in your brain, when your younger self receives it, it's as if you did receive it. Not just because we're vaguely imagining it, because a real woman or a real man that you experience mother and father characteristics and traits actually gave that to you now, so you can give it to yourself then. So let's go ahead and get some volunteers and walk through what it feels like to experience receiving the 10 gifts. Thank you so much. And now we're going to go ahead and invite people to ask questions and volunteer to be able to walk through that process.